If you've watched this channel for any amount of time, you already know that my brother is a little different. But we both share a love for antique cars and hot rods. And for the first time in Jeremy's life, he's finally getting an opportunity to build one for himself, with a little bit of help from me and Uncle Bob. Now, my dad and my brother went together and bought this 1931 5-window Model A coupe with hopes of building it into a street rod. Initially, Jeremy wanted to keep it all Ford powered and build a flathead V8 for it. But for what it would cost to build a flathead, we could build a really nice small block Chevy. So I donated a 327 core and some parts to help Jeremy get his engine up and going.
Parts are gonna put a dent in your ego. Ding.
You think your chicken coop's gonna be able to handle all that power?
Will be when I'm done.
The freaking tar paper's gonna peel off the top of it.
Maybe.
Probably have chicken wire folding around your neck while you're trying to shift gears.
Be flopping off and going across your windshield.
You think so?
We got a grudge race.
I heard that you were trying to grudge race old Chumpy in his 55 Chevy.
No, that was Chumpy.
Oh.
Running his pie hole.
Oh, Chumpy's been running his pie hole.
His pie hole. He's got mufflers now. He's ready to go.
Oh, he's got mufflers. Now, I've known about Mark's 55 Chevy for a couple of years, but I've never seen it in person. It's been off the road for a very long time. But with all this talk about the chicken coop from buckwheat, Mark and his buddy Dennis are preparing for war. So, I guess there's a situation.
There's always a situation.
There's always a situation. Mark down at A1 Auto Parts has a black 4-speed Big Block Tunnel Ram 55 Chevy. And Buckwheat's got a chicken coop. There's a grudge race brewing. The problem is, I think it's probably going to take you 10 years just to have yours sitting on 4 wheels.
How long does it take him to put mufflers on his?
I don't know, but his is running.
2 years.
His is ready to
2
go.
years for mufflers.
You don't have anything.
I will.
You will? How soon?
Oh, soon.
Will it be before you get your next video up?
No.
After I left the machine shop, I went down to see Mark to tell him about Bucko's plan to blow his doors off.
I don't think so.
He's been up at the machine shop today pestering Uncle Bob about his 327.
Yeah, you sent me a picture.
He did.
Of a bare block.
Well.
Yeah, a bare block.
All right, well, in Bucko's defense, I am helping him build the engine.
Oh, you are? Really?
There's a good chance that what we put in it may rip the damn thing in half.
Well, there could be chicken wire spread all over the track.
Chicken wire, tar paper, possible wood door frame pieces.
Yeah, I won't have to worry about any of that.
You're going to be out ahead of him?
Oh, yeah.
After hearing the news, Mark instantly called Denny to check on his car. Bucko says don't worry about the paint. He's going to blow it right off the car anyway.
Yeah, probably will.
So this brings us to Thursday, and Tanner and I are busy out in my shop working on the Monte Carlo, cleaning and painting the chassis, as well as removing the stock dash and a lot of the stock pieces off the firewall that we're no longer going to use. Tanner was busy removing the rest of the dash and the air conditioning system, as well as laying out all the new suspension parts, when we heard Bucko coming up the road in his chicken coop. After cleaning the spark plugs and freshly filing the points, he's managed a new top speed of about 45 miles per hour. Future plans call for updates of lighting and instrumentation on the Model A, as well as a completely different beefed-up chassis. And if there's enough money left over, maybe some new tar paper. Status report.
Dash is out, frames cleaned up and painted. I'm ready to install parts.
Really?
Yeah.
And I think you've got the rear end out of it, don't you?
Yeah, rear end's out of it.
So the plan here is to remove all the factory air conditioning and replace it with a unit from Vintage Air. So the stock dash has to be removed as well as everything behind it. Anyway, now that we've got this car basically gutted of everything that we're not going to use, in order to move forward with the project, we need to get all this stuff out of the way. Once we get the shop cleaned up and organized a little bit, we're going to move forward with the braking system, hydraulic clutch, and front suspension. But let's not forget that the Monte Carlo isn't the only project I've got going on right now. Work is continuing on Mom and Dad's 55 Chevy up at the body shop. Now that the quarter panels have been hung and the trunk floor's in, it's time to cut the original floor out of the car and get ready to replace it with a new one-piece floor kit from Golden Star. But wait, that's not all. We've still got something else brewing up at the machine shop, other than Jeremy's 327. Bob plans to make some initial dyno pulls on Billy's 408 small block Chevy that he plans to put in that 69 C10 pickup he's giving away. Bob fired it up and broke the rings in on gasoline, and now we're about to find out what it makes. With 36 degrees of timing, Bob makes the first initial pull up to 5,500 RPM. The second pull, we took it to 7,000. Billy plans to come up next week and bolt a blower on the engine and swap out the gas carburetor for an E85 1000 CFM ATM unit. With over 550 horsepower naturally aspirated, I can't wait to see what it makes with the blower on E85. Alright, so today we're filming back at my shop again, and we're getting closer and closer to beginning the process of putting the Monte Carlo all back together. While we're waiting on the fresh paint to dry on the firewall and the front frame rails, we're going to start putting the new Strange 9-inch and new suspension up under the back of the car. Well, it's finally time to start putting the thing back together now.
Yeah.
This is the fun part, I think.
It should be.
It should be. But we're missing some hardware. We need some shock mounting tabs for the rear end.
Yep.
Mark got me those the last time because we put the same thing in my Malibu.
Yeah.
And then the upper control arm bushings on the rear axle housing are missing.
Yep.
So
they should have been shipped with them in it, but when they come on that crate, it's literally just the rear end on the crate. There's no box that comes with it or anything.
right, so I need to go to Jegs probably and get some upper control arm bushings for the rear end housing.
Yep.
And then the bolts for the lower control arms, we need to replace those.
Yes, and we also need engine mounts if you're going to go to Jegs.
Yeah, I do need to get engine mounts. So it sounds like I'm going to Jegs today.
Yep.
And probably Mark's.
Yes.
It's parts chasing season.
It is.
So Tanner and I hop in the El Camino and we grab up everything we need to take to Mark's so that hopefully we can get all the correct hardware that we need. Now I remember when we replaced the stock rear end under my Malibu with a 9-inch housing, we had all these same problems. All the original hardware for the rear axle was metric, but all the new UMI suspension pieces use 1/2-inch standard bolts. So that means all the holes in the frame have to be drilled out. So anyway, I dropped Tanner off at my shop and then I headed into downtown Columbus to go pay a visit to Uncle Terry at Jegs. It's been almost a month since the last time I was in to see him, and he sent me a text message the other day asking if everything was okay. I had to explain to him with everything I've got going on and all the different places I've been filming, I honestly just haven't had time to come in here. Terry definitely understood and already had my parts pulled for me when I walked into the showroom. It's been a little while since I've been in here to see you.
It's been a while.
You were starting to get concerned.
Yeah, I was.
What'd you think of that Marauder down in Kentucky?
It's beautiful.
Isn't that thing gorgeous?
That thing is gorgeous.
That's right up your alley, Uncle Terry.
I love them. I love them. You don't see those cars anymore.
No, you
Marauders
don't hardly
especially.
ever see them.
Mercury's, you don't see a lot of the Fords. No, not the Mercury's. I love the Mercury.
Now, some of you may not know this, but Uncle Terry is a die-hard Ford guy. Despite his poor life choices, I still love him to death. Anyway, when I got back to the shop with the parts, Tanner was ready for me to come in and explain to me the situation we're facing now. Earlier today, he sent a text message out to my brother asking for some assistance. This led to Jeremy showing up and taking off with some of the parts we need to finish installing the rear end under the back of my Monte Carlo. We're ready to put the rear end in.
Yes.
But we have a problem. What would the problem be, Tanner?
Well, it seems that Bucko actually took the springs to get sandblasted. He kind of just hasn't brought them back yet, and it's been like 3.5 hours.
Tanner is quickly learning what it's like to work with my brother on a tight schedule. There's something you have to understand, that when you engage my brother, when you rub his lamp, he will appear. But once you give him a job to do, it might take days before you see him again. Now, I need my coil springs back as soon as possible so we can get my Monte Carlo set back on all 4 wheels. That way I can move it out of the shop if I need to, but I'm also eager to find out whether the rear wheels fit on the new stock width rear end from Strange. It's kind of important that I get a head start on this thing and find out what the offset needs to be. If I need to change it, I need to let the guys know at RC Comp so they can get started on my wheels for the Monte. Just to make sure that my brother's actually working on the springs like he promised he is, Tanner and I went up to the farm to check in on him. Now granted, my brother is pulled in 9 million different directions. He takes care of my dad and takes care of everything up at the farm, and very rarely gets time to work on anything for himself. But he also has a reputation for disappearing for days at a time.
Looks like a beekeeper.
How do you like his new chassis for his chicken coop?
It makes make these cabins that you can keep all the sand in one place. I don't know if you've ever heard of one of those.
Oh, yeah? You don't have one in your pocket, though. You don't. Well, neither do I. You can sandblast them next time and show me all your wisdom. All of it. You and your springs. There. You can scrape the undercoating off.
Well, I need 2 rears. That's the problem.
You can have all 4.
They're all done? You think they're done?
I think we showed up at the perfect time, actually.
Holy shit. He did get them done.
Here, numbnuts. I dropped them off 3 hours ago. Yeah, let me run out, grab material, and set everything up, and get it staged, and start sandblasting.
Right. Get ready to get ready to get ready.
Yeah.
What do you got here? Is this your new chassis for your chicken coop?
Yep.
That's the new one.
Now that I get done spending all my sand on your sandblasting, I have to go buy some more so I can sandblast my stuff.
You can scoop some off the ground and reuse it.
Well, you see, that seems to be the problem of why it took me extra time. My dad and my brother, little brother, had that idea and dumped the shit back in there along with gravel. So I get about 5 minutes of sandblasting and plug. Dig it all apart, piece of gravel, put it back together, go a little bit longer, bang, another piece of gravel.
Thanks, Buckwheat.
Yeah, go away.
All right, everybody, welcome back. It is Sunday. Vicky and I and the kids have taken the weekend off racing. Tommy and Allison are working on the Dakota to get it ready for roadkill nights, and Vicky and I stopped over there last night to check out the progress on that. I think the kids filmed that for their channel. Pretty funny. Anytime me and Jeff are together, it's a pretty good time. But anyway, so we taken the weekend off. Tommy and Allison, like I said, are working on the Dakota. Vicky and I have been doing yard work and just working around the house this weekend. Billy's been working on the Supra a little bit, trying to get some wiring taken care of and this, that, and the other. But the Monte Carlo, we'll be back on that tomorrow morning. We did get a little bit done on it Friday after we left the farm, but we'll get back to that here in a minute. But right now, I'm headed over to Barnesville, Ohio to meet up with Mark. Me and June Pup here are going to run over there and check out Mark's 55. Now, I've never seen this car in person. I've only seen pictures of it, little video clips. It's basically a time capsule from what I can tell. It's right out of the mid-70s, just like my mom and dad's car. It's a black 55 Chevy with a red interior, but Mark's has got a big block tunnel ram, 4-speed, and evidently like 488 gears in it. I don't know. I know that the header's rusted off of it, the exhaust fell off of it, and he told me about that 2 years ago, and he's recently started to get back on the car, trying to work on it a little bit. He's got new exhaust on it, new mufflers. He's excited for me to come and see it. I know it's got some tuning issues he wants me to look at, so I told him I'd come over today and come check it out. So here we go. For those of you who are not familiar with the state of Ohio, we live almost directly in the middle of the state, while Mark lives all the way over on the eastern side of Ohio, almost into West Virginia. Mark was born and raised in a little town called Barnesville, Ohio, which is about 6 or 8 miles south of Interstate 70 on State Route 800. It's about 85 miles one way back and forth between his house and the parts store down in Buckeye Lake. Mark makes this drive 5 days a week, and if I had to guess, I'd say it's a major contributing factor as to why it's taken him so long to get his 55 back on the road. It's also a major factor as to why no one's ever seen his car on my channel. From what I understand, Mark's old 55 is kind of a time capsule. A rowdy big block tunnel ram 4-speed 55 Chevy with a steep set of gears in the back. But after Mark's watched me drive this Malibu all over the place, I think Mark and his buddy Dennis are making plans to put a 5-speed in it like I did Mom and Dad's car.
Made it.
Well, what the hell are we doing today?
Oh, we got all kinds of stuff going on.
Stuff going on?
Yeah, we got all kinds of stuff.
Well, you got my brother all kinds of worked up.
Do I really?
Oh my God.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah.
I like that. That makes me sleep better at night.
So let me look at this 55 Chevy.
Okay.
I've heard all about this thing. I've never seen it in person.
Well, it's right here. So this is the Uncle Bucko killer.
This is the Uncle Bucko killer?
Oh yeah, this is it. Oh yeah.
So what have you been doing? You've been working on paint?
We've been doing a little bit of everything. We're trying to get the door handle off the door, and we're kind of having trouble. So Dennis is, yeah, I got it screwed up.
You got it screwed up?
Yeah, it's messed up.
Oh boy.
Yeah, it's messed up.
So
But
it runs okay now?
Well, it needs tweaked a little bit. I mean, you know, it needs some stuff. So there's.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So.
How big is it?
427 and it's 30 over.
Oh.
Yeah. 12.5-to-1.
Oh.
Aluminum GM heads.
Oh.
Yeah.
Straight out of 1970.
Straight out of 1970.
Well, except for the aluminum heads, maybe. But
Yeah, well, no, they're 70 heads. Those
Are they?
GM heads, yeah.
oh my
Yeah,
God.
those are factory GM heads.
It's a time capsule.
It is a time capsule. Yeah, just like the rest of us.
Mark's owned this old 55 Chevy for a very long time. He inherited it from his father, and all the modifications that have been done to this car over the last 40 years have been done right here in his buddy Dennis's shop in Barnesville, Ohio. And although this car's been off the road for many years, Mark insists it's road ready. Are you telling me this thing's drivable now?
Yeah,
We can go for a ride in
we
it.
could go for a little spin. We'll have to buckle up my racing seatbelt, though.
Now, you already know June Pup's not getting left out of any rides in a 55 Chevy.
It's nice and cozy in here. See if I can back this out without tearing the chrome strip off.
It didn't take long for June Pup to start panting. She's not used to riding around in something without air. Sounds pretty good.
It's not too bad, does it?
No. Hang on, Juniper Rose. The wild man's driving. The old 427 in Mark's 55 actually has an LS6 solid lifter camshaft in it. It's mild enough to drive it pretty much anywhere you want to go. And believe it or not, the old Big Block actually stays pretty cool. Once we had a little heat in the engine, Mark turned the car around just south of town and decided to show me what this thing's capable of. This thing does run pretty good.
Like I said, Uncle Bucko killer.
The only problem we ended up having during our test drive was figuring out how to make June ride in the 55 Chevy without her papaw. She's not used to watching me get out of a car and having the car drive off without me. This is a big reason why I love this dog so much. Wherever I am, she wants to be, no matter what. Dude, that thing runs pretty good. It runs pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, I'm pretty impressed.
You are.
Yeah, for something that's sat that long and hasn't hardly been driven. Now, idle's a little bit high.
It does. Idle's high.
I feel like maybe the ignition timing's off.
Yeah, you're probably right.
I think we need to do a little tuning here and there, but for the most part, that damn thing runs pretty good.
Ain't too shabby.
Buckwheat's in big trouble.
It's a big trouble.
Big trouble.
Big trouble.
So this brings us to Monday morning, and I couldn't wait for Bucko to stop by and describe to him in detail how much trouble he's in with Mark in that black 55 Chevy. And as usual for Bucko, math and physics simply don't apply to him.
What?
Boy, oh boy, are you in trouble.
Why is that?
I went for a ride in that 55 Chevy this weekend.
What 55 Chevy?
Chump holes.
Yeah?
It runs really good. I don't know what you're gonna do. I'm telling you right now, you better buy a freaking Pro Mod.
It's just a 55 Chevy.
It's a Big Block 4-speed 55 Chevy,
Yeah,
come on.
that's what Falfa thought in the movie. That's what happened to him.
All right, so with that out of the way, me and Tanner have been making some progress on the Monte Carlo. We've actually got the 9-inch rear end up underneath the car and all new hardware installed. And like I mentioned earlier, I'm excited to see how well these wheels and tires fit underneath the car with the new disc brake rear end. Typically, I'll order the wheels with a little bit shallow offset so that I can use a spacer and make adjustments as needed. The Monte Carlo's frame rails are untouched, however, we did have to trim the quarter panel lips. My 8-inch wide RC comps have a 4.5-inch backspace, and one side has always been tighter than the other. But these new UMI upper control arms offer a solution. So what we're doing is we've gone ahead and put the rear wheels on, and initially the right rear was really tight. It was all the way up against the frame, and this side had a pretty good air gap. But now that we've got both the tires mounted, we can use the upper control arms to center the rear end under the car so that the tires have the same air gap on the inside of the frame rail on each side. Typically anything that we have on a radial runs on a 275/60/15 ET Street Radial Pro, and they look perfect tucked up underneath this Monte Carlo. Now it's time to focus on the front suspension and replacing the stock front spindles with these lightweight billet aluminum units from TRZ. We're also replacing the stock upper and lower control arms with tubular units from TRZ as well.
Dude, that looks sick.
Now obviously, the Monte's looking pretty good, but there's more to this than just looks. We're trying to lose some weight as well. The stock lower control arms weighed almost 15 pounds, and the TRZ units weighed almost half as much. Although there wasn't as much difference between the stock uppers and the TRZs, there's still a considerable amount of weight savings when you consider you save 10.7 pounds between both sides.
So here we go.
That's
This is the
everything.
big one.
This is rotor, caliper, pads, and the spindle itself. So this is the whole assembly of what we took off the front of the car.
Yeah.
And it weighs 40.4 pounds.
40.4.
Keep in mind, we're weighing the stock spindle, steering arm, and the brakes all together, not just brakes.
So we have spindle,
Yes.
and then this is the tie rod arm for the spindle, caliper with the pads in it,
Yeah.
spindle,
And the
brake
hat.
rotor.
Oh boy. What's it say?
18.5.
Wow.
Altogether, with what we've done, we've saved over 65 pounds on the Monte Carlo.
You're still going to need some time at Jenny Craig.
I'm gonna blast your ass.